I just wanted to welcome all of you to our special day here. Alexandra, Ashley, and I are very excited, and we feel very blessed that we have all of you here with us today to celebrate Ramona's life. Standing up here kind of reminds me of a story. We managed homeowners associations, and I'd be standing up in front of 400 people, and my phone would ring. I forgot to turn it off, and it would be Ramona calling to see where I was. So actually, I'm leaving it on. I'm hoping she calls. Eric Miller, my good friend, is going to officiate the celebration today for me. We've known each other for a long time. He's officiated our celebration in Florida. Unfortunately, in Florida, I got COVID, so I was unable to attend our celebration in Florida. Being the baby of the family, I'm the emotional one, so I've put a little talk together that I've taped, so I think if I tried to do it standing up here, it would be difficult for me, so Eric is going to be playing that. Hopefully you'll enjoy what we have to present here, and I'm going to hand it over to Eric and let him get started.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Joe. I'm so glad this is post-COVID Joe, so he can make this one, and we're going to do a lot of what we did down in West Palm, just 4.5 months ago, and it's just a great celebration of life for such an amazing person, Ramona Gilbert. All of us felt so strongly about how she was. She was a great mother, great wife, and just a great friend to so many people. So, as Joe said, my name's Eric Miller, and I'm officiating today's celebration of life as we celebrate Ramona. Now, although this could be a very sad and somber day, it's something that we want to be uplifting. Tell a lot of positive stories and get people to come up and share their memories of Ramona and just have it be very inspiring, very passionate, and just really show how much we all cared for Ramona and how much we love Ramona. So just for background, Ramona was born in Queens, March 15th, 1961. And it was there when she met her best friend, Michelle, who's sitting or standing over there. Her bestie since they were 5 years old. And they've been so close, and it's great that Michelle could be here. And after high school, Ramona did move down to Florida, and that's where she met Joe. She, it was her true love of her life. They were married for 30 years, and they just, loved and adored each other, and they lived life to the fullest, and they did so much stuff. A lot of us all traveled with them. We did so many things with them, and Ramona's parents were Herbert and Helga. Herbert predeceased Ramona. Helga is down in Florida, so she was there when we did the celebration of life back then. And, it's tough for people to travel, especially with this hurricane that hit. A lot of people had a tough time getting up here, but it seems like everybody made it. Everybody else made it up here. When Joe and Ramona had their 30th anniversary party, a book was put together, and a lot of people were there, and they signed, put together a lot of comments, and there were a lot of good pictures in there. And the book's in the back, so I would encourage people to take a look at that. Ramona was just a kind, caring, fun-loving person. Her passion was her family, and although she's not here physically, she is here in spirit watching over us. Ramona, Mo, Mona, Mama, Mama Bear, and so many different names that everybody called her. Married to Joe and had 2 wonderful kids, and she truly adored Ashley and Alexandra, her 2 daughters. And girls, I know you know this already, but I'm going to say it. She was just unbelievably proud of both of you guys. I know how hard this must be, but every single time she spoke about you, it was with love, affection, and pride. Alexandra, your mom was just so happy when you married Chris, and you guys have given them so much pleasure with your 2 children, Raylan, also Ray Ray, and Michael, MMM, Motorcycle Machine Michael. And nothing made her happier than spending time with the grandchildren. And I know she's looking down and just very happy that Chris and Alexandra are going to have their 3rd baby on April 1st. She also had a passion for animals. She was very generous with her time and charitable contributions to make Wildlife Sanctuary, where they actually dedicated a plaque with love to Ramona. My wife Carolyn called Ramona the animal whisperer because wherever she was, there was always animals coming. Joe will list all the animals that they had in their life, and today, of course, we're going to be going up Buddy's Trail and spreading Ramona's ashes. So she just had such a good passion for animals. I know Carolyn and I Spent a lot of time, did extensive traveling with Joe and Ramona, and we had such great memories. We went to Alaska together, went to Europe, a European cruise, we were in Paris, Caribbean cruise, Rock Legends cruise, just a lot of fun. And I'm sure you're going to hear, some of the stories about those cruises. In terms of Ramona's fighting and how tough she was, she fought cancer for many years. She had breast cancer over 20 years ago, and she beat it. And then over 5 years ago, she got diagnosed with multiple melanoma. And she courageously fought through it with extensive treatments, with radiation and medication. And although she was in a lot of pain, she just never showed it. She was just always so positive, always saying life is good, and just really enjoyed life. And she kept continuing to travel and socialize, going to different dinners and different family events. And a lot of people had posted and said that she was a woman of valor and a tough warrior. She was strong, and she always exhibited a positive outlook despite all the struggles of pain that we know she was in. She always did say, "I had a wonderful life." When I think of Ramona, I also have to think of the Jimmy Valvano speech at the ESPYs when he formed the Jimmy V Cancer Foundation about 30 years ago. And in that speech, he said, "Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Cancer can take away my physical abilities, but it cannot touch my heart, my mind, or my soul." And Ramona didn't give up. She was beautiful, had a beautiful soul. And to paraphrase an author, F. Scott Fitzgerald, I'm going to insert Ramona's name, but Ramona was beautiful for the way she thought. She was beautiful for the sparkle in her eyes. When she talked about something that she loved, she was beautiful for her ability to make people smile, even if she was sad. She was beautiful deep down to her soul. Ramona is just beautiful. So with that, I'm going to now turn on Joe's video.
We grew up in a housing development in Queens where we had 2 brothers and us 2, so 4 kids in a 3-bedroom apartment. My parents had one bedroom. My sister and I shared another bedroom. My sister was a disco queen, and I was a hippie chick. We fought endlessly about the bedroom and who got the closet, because there was only one closet, and her clothes needed to be hung up, and my clothes needed to be thrown on the floor in the corner. So my dad came out with a huge roll of red electrical tape from the ceiling, down the wall, across the floor, and back up the other side of the wall. That was my side, that was her side. Unfortunately, she got the closet, I got the stereo. I cannot tell you how many times I would come home and find disco on my radio. It's my stereo. We had bunk beds. I slept on the top. My sister slept on the bottom because I was the oldest. There was no greater pleasure than me crawling down the back of the bunk bed, crouching at the foot of her bed, waiting until she was asleep, and then jumping on her. She would wake up screaming in the middle of the night, and my mother would come in and beat me senseless. I used to bring food into the bedroom at night and hide it under my pillow. Some snacks, some cookies, and all this kind of stuff. I said, "Well, you can do it, Mona, you can do it. Mommy doesn't know, Mommy doesn't know." Well, one day Mommy came in, and Mona was sitting there eating snacks, and I said, "She made me do it. She made me do it." And Mona got in trouble. Not me, Mona got in trouble. But I want to tell you about the one thing that has always stood out in my mind. When my sister moved down here, she and I would talk frequently. And she started telling me about this guy she met that she worked with. She said, "Cindy, he's like this really good-looking guy. And he really likes me. And I really like him. And he's so good-looking." And she's like, "I think this is it." And I was like, "Oh, you're full of crap." She's like, "No. And the next thing I know, Of course, his name was Joe Gilbert. Both Joe and Gilbert were boys that she had dated in Queens. And when she moved up here, she met the Joe Gilbert. Nothing was more important to her than her girls. She called me crying both times she was pregnant. There's nothing more. There's nothing more I can say. There's nothing more I can say than how much she loved Joe, how much she loved Ashley and Alexandra, and then of course Raylan and Michael and us. You know, she loved us too. You know, me, my brothers, my mom. But her life revolved around her girls, her grandkids, her husband, and all their friends, and all of you people. And thank you all for being here. Thank you all for loving her. And of course, Michelle, her bestie, who, by the way, both of them beat me up at one time. I just want to point that out to you. Okay, I remember it. Okay, I'm still traumatized. Okay, it's a loss. It's a loss for all of us. But I know she's up here looking at me and saying, Cindy, could you please just shut up?
I'm gonna get to that. So, my name's David. My mom is Michelle, Aunt Ramona's best friend. And before I get into my story, I'll address the elephant in the room. I am in a completely pink outfit. The reason why I'm wearing this outfit is in honor of my Aunt Ramona. So when Aunt Ramona was in the hospital and she was, sick, Uncle Joe and I went up to visit her, and Uncle Joe looked at me and said, before we go in, I'm just gonna let you know, Aunt Ramona, with her procedures and the medication and everything, she could be a little, out of it or angry. I was like, cool, no problem. So we walk into the room, and I said, hey, Aunt Ramona, how you doing? And she shot me a look that could kill and said to me, and I quote with Uncle Joe as my witness, David, what the fuck are you wearing? You're dressed like a woman. And for the rest of the time I was down there, she would come up to me and go, I don't get it. So you spent money on that? Like, you thought that was a good outfit to wear? And I was like, yeah, I like it. So I'm wearing it in honor of my Aunt Ramona. I miss you. I love you. And I hope you're looking down at me right now and going, why the hell did I think to wear it again? And that's it. So thank you.
I know she's shaking her head, looking like, no way. He did it again.
Well, obviously we're here to celebrate Ramona today, and when I talked at the event in Florida, I spent all of my time talking about Ramona. So I'd like to shift gears a little bit and demonstrate our support during these tough times and transition for Joe. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Joe today. I've known Joe for a long time, and I was there when he bought his first bicycle, when he drank his first beer, which is a whole nother story. There was a bicycle involved in that as well. When he drove his first car, when he got his first job, when he kissed his first girl, when he grew his first facial hair. This started a long time ago. But when he started, it was that 70s kind of porn star mustache, which I'm sure probably some of you saw. He's grown into one of the ZZ Top players at this point, obviously. When he bought his first business, GRS Management, that was a huge decision and a big life change for him. He bought his first house. And of course, when he met Ramona, the love of his life. And he said to me, I'm going to marry that girl. I was also there when he learned probably the two most important words in any marriage. And I know you'll all agree with me that they are, yes, dear. Now, many of you don't know, but humble Ramona said, because she had lots of time to plan and think about her passing, she said, I don't want some big event. I just don't want it. I appreciate it, but I don't want that. But Joe forgot the two most important words of his marriage, yes, dear. And he scheduled an event in Florida in the first week of June. It was interrupted by a storm that kept many of Joe's friends and family members from here getting to the event. Ironically, it was called Alex, which is their firstborn daughter's name. So you can call it coincidence, but I don't call it coincidence. I think she said, look, Joe, I asked you not to do this. So not only that, she didn't leave it there. She went on and Joe tested positive for COVID 2 days before that event. So he wasn't able to attend, which I thought was amusing, at least. So then Joe decides that he's going to go on and schedule a second event up here for those of you who weren't traveling. So this event was scheduled, obviously, for today. And what happened? We had another hurricane in South Florida, which prevented Eric, among others, and disrupted many travel plans to get here. I can say that this interference with the audio, I think, is just yet another example of Ramona's wrath. So it probably won't end here. Perhaps most importantly, when you and Ramona are first reunited, which you know will happen, you're going to have some shit to deal with. That's my guess. So I wish you luck. In that initial meeting, it will be great, but it might be difficult in the beginning. So what I would like to say is, we're all here for Ramona, but realistically, at this moment, we're all here to support Joe, because we love him, and we care about him, and we wish him well. And I would like to give Joe, to show our love and support, that we're all here whenever you need anything. So let's give Joe a round of applause.
I'm Penny. I'm one of Ramona's nieces, and I did a recording at the last event, but I thought I would share some different stories at this event, but kind of centered around some of the same memories that I have of my Aunt Ramona. So I really want to echo that the thing that really, really stays with me is how much she loved her family. I mean, Ashley, Alexandra, Uncle Joe, and her grandchildren. It just, the glow on her face when she would talk about all of you, it was just, it stays with you. But I agree that she was just so open with her time and her family. And I was really, really fortunate that in 2009, the family was visiting California. And at the time, I was a graduate student. I guess I was in school there, kind of lonely. I mean, I didn't have family there, and they invited me on their family trip. And so they were headed up to wine country. And we went in a limousine, really fancy, and had drinks in the limousine and photos that I still look back on and enjoy and remember really, really in my mind's eye, a beautiful photo of Uncle Joe and Aunt Ramona kissing in the back of the limousine. And so then we go to all these wineries and we taste all this wine, and we went to one in particular that I remember thinking was the fanciest vineyard I'd ever been to in my life. I think it was called Silver Oak. And so we're going through there and we're tasting the wines at this vineyard, and then Uncle Joe and Aunt Ramona end up buying a bottle at the end. And it was, I'm a student and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is the most expensive bottle of wine I've ever seen in my life. So I'm thinking that it's going into some very special place and is going to be saved for years and years and years and years. And as we're driving back, I asked, what are you going to save this bottle of wine for? And Aunt Ramona looks at me and she's like, girl, we're drinking this tonight. And it stays with me because I just think, man, she really knew how to live in the moment and enjoy life. And it's one of those things that I try to do and don't do it as well as she did, and have to remind myself that really is what matters in life. The other thing that really sticks out in my mind when I think of Aunt Ramona is, just as everyone else is saying, is she just such a beautiful woman, and I see her smile in my eye, just the really big smile when it's like the big laugh. So classy, okay? Just so classy. And I agree. She is here with us, and for me, it's when I'm in moments where I have no distractions that I have memories and connect with people that have left this land. And I was sitting on the airplane coming from Toronto to Boston, and all of a sudden, in my head, Ramona telling me, Penny, you're a professional now, and look at your nails. They look horrible. Are you coming to this event, my event, with your nails looking like that? And I mean, for those of you who know me, I don't get my nails done. Like the last time I had my nails done, I think was with Uncle Joe in Florida. I don't do it. And I don't know. She's 1,000 times classier than I can ever be. But she's nagging. And so I get on the land, and I send a text to my sister-in-law, and I'm like, we got to go get our nails done. And so I make an appointment, and we're going to get our nails done, and I don't even know what to pick. And so I'm standing there, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to get, French manicure, because that's what I'm comfortable with. And once again, she's in my mind saying, can't you be a little more risky than that? Get it a little bit more funky. And I'm like, why is she in my head? Like, this is already a lot for me to be here. And so I asked my niece, like, okay, you pick something, but I can't put it on my hands because I'm way too boring for that. But it has to be something interesting. So I have sparkles, rainbow sparkles on my toes. And this is in honor of Aunt Ramona. And I'm so glad we're all here to honor her. And again, love you, Uncle Joe. And so many good memories of her that will stay with all of us and definitely with me. Thank you.
I have the distinct pleasure of being the next door neighbor to Ramona and Joe Gilbert and their two daughters. I watched a beautiful, beautiful young woman move into our neighborhood about 20 years ago or so. And I watched the young daughters being groomed to be beautiful young women. I would always watch little Ashley outside playing with the guys. The guys of color, she beat them in basketball, and I really gained a lot of respect for the whole family because of the open-heartedness that they had to everyone in the neighborhood and to people of all colors, denominations, whatever. That was very, very meaningful to me. Ramona taught me as her neighbor to love animals because I was always very skeptical of cats and things that she loved, She said, Linda, they're not gonna bother you. This is what you have to do, just be cool. I said, Ramona, that dog is gonna attack me because every time I look into a dog's eyes, they attack me. No, Linda, it's not like that. But every morning I would watch Ramona, and she would go into the back, watch her go out the screen door, even though we put up a hedge, because I like to look in people's windows and things. But, so we have a hedge. And I would watch her going out to feed those beautiful animals that she loved. She'd feed the cats, any cats in the neighborhood, the squirrels, the raccoons would get it. Come on, Joe. And one of my favorite times is when Ramona would knock on my door, and my husband, I considered him her personal physician. She would knock on that door, and she would have one of those girls with her. Gordon, you've got to look at this. She's got a rash here or whatever. She was always concerned about the young women that she was raising, and she took care of them. And I would say, well, I'm his assistant, so you have to show me the rash too, So, and a lot of times even Gordon would say, what do you think it is, Linda? And I'd give him my diagnosis. But I would say that if you had to live in a neighborhood, that you could not have lived with any better people beside you than the Gilberts. And to this day, I call Joe my brother. I call him Brother Joe because that's what he is to me. He's the same age as my younger brother, and I call him they're like twins to me. There's nothing in the world that I wouldn't do for him nor his daughters. In fact, I told Ramona, I'll keep my eye on them. At this, I also remember anytime I would see Ramona, no matter what she was going through, she dressed up. She put on her jewelry. She walked down the street with a walker. She showed you what integrity and perseverance was all about. She was not going to give up with the time. And the greatest gratitude I give to her husband, because I watched every day of what he did for his wife and what he continues to do for his family. And for that reason, I know that sometimes we have to give up. We have to say, I've spent my time. I've done it. I've done all I can do. And what we can do is to continue on as that person was, with that great heart that Ramona had and the gratitude and graciousness that she lived with. You continue to pass that on to someone else. And I think that that would be what she would expect us to, not to be sitting here sad, because God knows the number of days that we have. And she served her time. And if you girls, and I can tell you that as her family, if you continue to make your mother proud, she will say that I have done my job. That's a parent's job, is to strengthen those children, to make them self-sufficient, independent individuals, and then our job is somewhat over. And we give it up and we move on. When we cannot have that peaceful feeling, we will linger still. So that is one of the most important things. I don't mean to make anybody sad with what I'm saying. I'm saying our job is to get the next generation moving. And again, our bonuses are those grandchildren. Those grandchildren that we have sustained her for years, because I didn't even know how she did it, but every day was a smile. And the sensitivity even of your grandchildren. You must also remember, I've had Raylan over since then, and Raylan really remembers her grandmother very, very well. And I play the piano, and she wanted me to sing a song to her grandmother. And she's very in tune, because their family closeness and the ties that they had were something that we all need to work on, all of us. And I just pay honor to her today for being a beautiful woman, raising the beautiful daughters that she has raised. I want them to continue to go on with strength, dignity, and perseverance, and not drop your heads and say, your mom is still here because you are your mother, okay? So she's not gone. Your mom is still here because you are your mother. So show us who she really is. Thank you so much. I'm just a neighbor.
All right, King of Babylon. That's it.
If they can get the movie going, then I'll sit down. That was my wife, so I'm not gonna be redundant, because everybody that knows me, you hear what they just said? There he is, the king of Babylon. They say I babble on, so they call me the king of Babylon. And they actually shortened it to Nebuchadnezzar recently, all right? Because I think he was the king of Babylon. But I'm not gonna, Linda, I think, said the neighbor stuff, but let me tell you why this is big to me. I'm from Oklahoma. My dad took me and showed me where they were burned out because they moved into a certain neighborhood. Let's burn them out. The first time Linda and I bought a house, our real estate agent got called and threatened for showing us the house. The next time we built a house, an underground newspaper came out with a picture of our house saying, how could these people have this kind of money? So there's underground news. I don't know if it was the Unproud Boys or who put it out, but there's a newspaper. And what really upset me is the picture they had of me was so ugly. Always ugly on the front of it. So the next time we go to a house, you know, I mean, the history of moving into a house for me has problems associated with. All of a sudden, we're next to Joe and Ramona. It erased everyththing. The most wonderful people you could be next to. Open door policy, in and out of the houses. Every night. I'd party with Joe at night. Ramona would leave us, of course, and I live right next door, 10 feet between the houses. Sometimes I'd have to Uber home, okay? So we just had a great time. She's a great person. Linda said all the stuff that needs to be said, so I'll leave you with a couple of things. She also taught me to love animals. I'm from Oklahoma. Squirrels are tree rats, okay? Not to Ramona. Oh, she fed the squirrel. Everybody, and it kind of taught me to be understanding of them, and after a while I thought they were kind of cute. Okay, so she changed my thought pattern on some things, particularly animals and cats and big cats and lizards and all these things. That was Ramona. She was always Joe's queen. And she carried herself. Like Penny said, that's the way she carried herself. And Joe looked up to her. And she was always his queen. And let me say this about Joe right now. The greatest thing a man can do for his children is to love their mother. And Joe did that. He's done all he can for the greatest thing he can do for his children. That's the way Joe Gilbert is. And I'm going to leave you with this, just a short little way that I perceived Ramona. And think about this, because this is Ramona, laid back and cool. And she would say, there's a dream world and the actual life. Sometimes the two seem to touch each other. But perhaps if one lives a less distracted and confused life, the two are really never separate at all, but continually one thing. Thank you.
I became friends with, from my wife, knew Joe in high school, and me and Joe became friends, played some golf up here together, and Ramona used to come up in the summer and we went out to dinner a few times, and then they kind of invited me down to go to Florida. I mean, I was welcomed with open arms. It was like she knew me my entire life, and I barely knew Ramona, but she just had she opened her arms and let me in her house, and I stayed there, and me and Joe would go play golf, and she would just stay home, and then we'd go out for dinner at night. But she was just a wonderful lady, loved her family, loved the kids, her grandkids. It was something. I did walk in that sanctuary with her. We went, one day we didn't play golf, we went to the sanctuary and walked around, and she just loved animals, and she was the love of Joe's life. We're going to miss her, but life goes on, and like you say, look at all these people that came up from Florida. That's a true testament to the woman she was. We'll keep living on like we should, okay? Rest in peace, Ramona.
I'm going to be short and sweet, but this is kind of what it's all about, is community coming together. I'm Nancy O'Keefe. I am Mark Hull's sister-in-law. Mark brought Joe into our life, I guess it's a long time ago, about 35 years. And we've celebrated holidays together. Ramona and I were pregnant at the exact same time. Jacob and Alexandra came practically identically together within days. And Ashley and Jesse. We've celebrated all of our milestones together, birthdays and holidays. And Linda, I think what you said is so relevant, because I think Ramona is channeling all of her mother and us. So girls, we're with you. Joe, we're with you. It's the community here is so amazing, and we have that same thing in Florida. So it's great to be with everybody.
First, Ramona wanted me to thank all of you. As you know, Ramona spent the last 5 years fighting multiple myeloma, which is not curable. Over this time, we were able to have some great conversations and share our thoughts. Ramona faced her challenge head on. Our girls and grandchildren, Alexandra, Ashley, Raylan, and Michael, were by far her greatest strength. She loved them with all her heart. I think she even had a warm place in her heart for me. And now we are expecting another granddaughter in April of 2023. Although she will never get to meet her mama, Ramona is smiling down now, as proud as she can be. Ramona was so appreciative of all the support she received from all of you. She received so many positive thoughts and prayers. The text, Facebook messages, and phone calls she received throughout her illness were amazing. The comments she received from all of you over the years to her Facebook post updating everyone on her current challenge made her light up. She was so appreciative and wanted to make sure all of you knew this. Alexandra, Ashley, and I would like to thank all of you for joining us to celebrate Ramona's life today. The turnout today is overwhelming and reinforces how much Ramona was loved. If you would indulge me for a few more minutes, I would love to share my love story with you. I met Ramona Tischauer in 1989. Ramona and I worked together for a developer in North Miami Beach. Ramona was my boss, Mike Ambrosio's secretary. We always credited Mike with bringing us together. During this time, most Friday nights, a bunch of us would go out for happy hour. On those Friday nights, I would look at this beautiful woman and wonder what kind of a chance I might have. Here she was, this gorgeous, amazing woman from New York City, and I was this awkward, goofy-looking backwoods country boy whose nickname in high school was Lug. Yes, Lug. What chance would a lug have? Well, I took a shot and asked her out. I must have caught her in a weak moment because she accepted. On March 10th of 1990, Ramona and I had our first official date. We saw Billy Joel at the American Airlines Arena in Miami. It was the start of our beautiful 32-year love story. Who would have thought how ironic it would be to our celebration today when that evening Billy Joel sang his hit song, Only the Good Die Young. We dated for about a year, and I proposed one evening in this quaint French restaurant, and she accepted. This was by far the best decision I ever made. On April 11th, 1992, we were married at the Holy Name of Jesus Church in West Palm Beach. Both of us in our early 30s. We wasted no time. We purchased our first home in Lake Charleston, Lake Worth, Florida in June of 1992, pre-construction, and moved into our new home in December of 1992. In March of 1993, I quit my job. We borrowed all the money we could from our credit cards. Two old friends of ours borrowed money from their credit cards and lent it to us, and we bought GRS Management on April Fool's Day, 1993. We also found out we were pregnant at this time. On September 18th, 1993, Alexandra was born, and then on April 11th, 1995, our third wedding anniversary, Ashley was born. Our best anniversary present ever. After this quick start to our life together, we decided Ramona would be a stay-at-home mom and raise our girls. What a great decision that was. It allowed her to shape them into the amazing women they are today. She was so proud of both of them. Over the years, we had so many amazing times, making sure we spent quality time together with our girls as well as spending quality time together. With the girls, our summers in New Hampshire, our many family trips to the happiest place on earth and family cruises. We had so many great times and made so many family memories. Ramona and I would sneak away for our weekend cruises with the Lake Charleston crew, our short weekends here and there, our trips to Alaska, Canadian Rockies, and Europe with the Millers, and spending time in New Hampshire, just the two of us, with our many excursions throughout New England and Canada. Many more memories. Then on January 11th, 2018, and June 12th, 2020, we were blessed again. Our grandchildren, Raylan and Michael, were born, and again showed us what true love is all about. The time we spent with them, words cannot express. I was torn if I wanted to share a little bit about Ramona's challenges with cancer. I wanted to make this day more about the positive side of Ramona's life, and this might not be the best time to talk about her struggles. I discussed this with my daughter Ashley, and her thoughts were quite enlightening. She expressed that she felt her mother's sickness and how gracefully she handled it, how strong she was for herself and all of us, was a defining part of Ramona's life. Although it was clearly a tough time, it was an important part of Ramona's legacy. Ashley felt that Ramona did not let cancer define her. It showed us all what a strong and confident woman Ramona was. It only made Ramona more beautiful and loved. Ramona endured a lot in her journey with cancer, starting in 2000 with breast cancer, having a double mastectomy and beating it. Then in 2018, she was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. She had a stem cell transplant in September of 2018, and then 4 separate cancer treatments over the next 4 years. Unfortunately, none of the treatments lasted for long. Ramona was in and out of doctors' offices and hospitals constantly during that time, but she did not complain. In her last year, as she was wearing down, her main goal became to celebrate our 30th wedding anniversary. When she was struggling, she would express that she hoped to make it to our 30th, and she did make it. Our kids surprised us, well, me, Ramona knew, with an amazing 30th anniversary party. It could not have been any better. We had a ton of family there, as well as friends from our childhood all the way through our friends of today. Many of you here today celebrated with us that day. Quite frankly, it turned out to be a celebration of life for Ramona that she attended. What an amazing day. But what you do not know that day was the pain Ramona was feeling. It was difficult that day for her to attend the party. I can assure you, not one person knew it. She did it well. She had an amazing time roaming around the party with her grandkids and chatting with everyone. What an amazing hostess she was that night. Within a couple of days after the party, after reaching her goal of celebrating our 30th anniversary, Ramona sat me down and told me it was time for her to stop fighting. The pain was too much. She assured me that she was at peace with her decision. She wanted to live for another 40 years, but those were not the cards that were dealt to her. She wanted to be allowed to pass it home and out of pain. We called hospice that day. She was made as comfortable as possible and passed it home about 5 weeks later. Ramona spent some time planning for her own death. She chose to be cremated and picked out her own urn. Her ashes will be mixed with all of her beloved pets that we had throughout our 30-plus years together. Yes, we had Buddy, Cody, Tasha, Mo, Spooky, Pretty Girl, Stanley, and Leo all cremated. Later today, we will spread the ashes on the mountain trail by her home here in New Hampshire, where she used to walk our golden retriever Buddy. She called the trail Buddy's Trail. Ramona was my rock. She was a true warrior, the strongest woman I have or will ever know. We had a great life together. Through good times and bad, our love prevailed. We learned to appreciate each new day and live it to its fullest, creating wonderful memories together. I'll cherish every moment we spent together. In closing, after Ramona's passing, I found a card she had left for me. What she wrote to me was so beautiful. Her final words to me were, "Please enjoy your life and think of me, because I will be up there watching. Ramona, my love, I will never forget you. Rest in peace."
Just heard so many common themes here about how beautiful Ramona was, classy, strength, courage, family, love, generosity. Just so many wonderful things about Ramona that everyone here has said. Just to close with that tribute Joe just gave, it's perfect ending. I'm sorry. It's Ramona. All right, I'll try to say this. So lunch is served in the back, and then after that, we're going to go to Joe's house and probably say to Ramona a lot, and then we're going to walk up Buddy's Trail and we'll spread Ramona's ashes. So that'll conclude today's celebration.
We've been coming, obviously we were married for 30 years, but for the last 20 years we've had the house here, and we'd come up, and Ramona loved this place. Obviously we do our walks and such, and this is kind of special for us because when you start, we had our little, that's not Buddy, that's not Gold. Wherever the gold, we had Buddy in 2005, and we started, and she would walk him up here every day, and we would actually come up. There's a logging road that goes up this way, and we would just walk this path, which meets the logging road. They've done a lot of logging in here since we've started doing it, so it was a lot different this year when I when I came up. It looked different, but we picked this spot because we know that there's no way that this rock isn't always going to be here. So no matter what they do with the woods around us, if we come here, we'll know this is where she is. So Alexandra and Ashley and Kristen, Raylan and Michael and I were up here earlier this week, and we kind of did our own thing and spread some of the ashes. And today we just, Eric's going to officiate. We just want to let any of you who are interested in spreading some of her ashes out of the urn. The urn actually is part Ramona and all the pets that we talked about, so we mixed them all together, which was again one of her wishes. So Alexandra and I and Chris and the kids spread them here, and Ashley took them down that bridge that we came over. She put them in the stream, and we actually watched them. They floated down through Bangor Street and probably down onto the golf course.
So here we are standing on Ramona's rock, and today was just an amazing day. The tributes, to Ramona. I'm going to read this quote right. It's not the years in your life that count; it's the life in your years. And Ramona lived well. Dear Lord, as we scatter Ramona's ashes, we commit her body to you and pray that she finds eternal rest for the glory of your holy name. Please forgive us where we have strayed during the grieving season. Fill us with thanksgiving for her well-lived and full life. We believe and pray, and we love you, Ramona. Amen.
I'm going to put some out for me, my sister, my brother, Bobby, my brother David, and Mom, Helga, and me, and all of the pets involved.
So I believe that we leave our loved ones here and go to loved ones somewhere else. And she'll never really leave us. She's always here.
It reminds me of an old tune that I knew, that I grew up on. Rock of Ages, cleft for me. Let me hide myself in thee.
Freezing.
Got my jacket?
I love you so much, and rest in paradise. You're a wonderful person, Ramona. The little time I knew you, amazing person.
You're a gorgeous, beautiful lady. I'll never forget.
I think I heard Ramona say, what did he just say?
Assimilating back into the universe. We're a bunch of microbes running around on a rock, orbiting a rather ordinary star, one of millions in a rather inconsequential galaxy, one of billions in a vast and inconceivable universe, assimilated back into it to never leave.
All right. Where would Pop want this to go? Or do you think Herbie would want this to go?
Near the roots.
Near the roots.
Everybody else.
Yeah, that's it. Just put some duct tape down and put it on it.
And this is for my dad. Dad loved you very, very much.
Ramona, we were kind of partners in a lot of rental properties, and I apologize here to you today for my rather pedestrian decorating style. She was never really impressed with how I did things.
Love you, Ramona. You were a badass. Gone but never forgotten. Ramona, I hope you have a great pair of slippers. All your favorite flip-flops. A nice big mommy sippy cup. Big bottle of cab. And all the things you love. We'll never forget you.
Anyway, I have a couple of stories that I always tell about Ramona. And my kids are going to roll their eyes because they've heard them 70 times. We were up here the other day and I told them, but I'll tell them again. One of the things that I thought was funny, I always thought was funny, was she was from New York City and obviously I'm from the mountains. And, you know, I remember Green Acres. I'm in Eddie Albert and Zsa Zsa Gabor. Green Acres. So I picture me with a little pitchfork and her and always glammed up. I mean, she was just always dressed impeccably, and we'd be driving on the street, and didn't even need a mirror, slapping on her lipstick and put her makeup on. But so that kind of reminded me of that. But we were in the Bahamas one time with the girls, and we spent a couple days, and we were getting ready to come back, and she was packing up, and I had this old hat that said Caribbean Joe on it that I had forever, and I just worn it out for a walk, and it was all sweated up, and she's like, why are you packing this thing and taking it back? And Alexandra looks over. She's probably, I don't know, you're what, 7? She's there, Ashley, and she says, well, he keeps you, doesn't he? Right? And Ramona just looked, and she's like, and we're all sitting there like, oh. And then she started laughing, and it was amazing. It was a fun.
You thought it was pretty funny.
Huh?
You thought it was
As one of the
funny.
times I peed myself. Yeah. Then one time we were up in Jupiter, and we were staying at this resort, and she had put her jewelry into the safe, and we're going somewhere, and she goes to get the jewelry out. She's pounding this goddamn thing. She's pounding on the number. She says, I can't get the safe open. I said, Ramona, that's the microwave. So I always enjoy telling the stories, and she never enjoyed me telling the stories.
Everyone says how much my mom liked animals. Well, there's 2 animals she didn't like, guys. One was rats and mice, and the other were cockroaches. Like, she would just lose her shit if she saw a cockroach or a rat. She was out of there. So she feeds the birds in front of the house in Florida a few years ago, and she had the bird feeder out front, and I'm like, Mom, move the bird feeder. Like, the birds are shitting all over my car. You know, like, the birds are all out front. I'm getting, you know, I just got a new car. She's like, no. So I pull in one day, and there's 2 rats in the bird feeder. And I'm like, oh, she's gonna move this bird feeder now. You know, there's 2 rats in it. So I go inside, and I tell her, I'm like, Mom, you gotta move the bird feeder. There's 2 rats. She's like, all right. So she goes outside. It's like dusk. It's like about to get dark, and so I was like, I didn't really pay much attention to it. She comes inside screaming, like bloody murder, like, oh my God, like something bitter, you know, like something really bad happened. I'm like, Mom, what happened? She stepped on the rat, okay? She stepped on it, and she wears her house slippers everywhere, and she didn't have them on. It was the one time she didn't have the house slippers on, and she stepped on this rat, and it was like, I've never seen my mom completely just lose it. And that was one of the funniest moments I think that I've had with my mom. One of them, it was just so funny. Like, what are the odds? Just what are the odds? It ran right under her foot.
I'm glad you had her to move that bird feeder, because that's pretty close to our house.
Right? She's great. She loves the birds. She feeds all the birds. It's just not meant for the front of the house.
I remember Ashley coming home one night and saying, oh my God, the scariest thing in the world was to look down and see 6 missed calls from my mother.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe 3.
No, it was 6.
I didn't have the search party out from you guys. It was bad.
There's only 1 glass of wine, as long as you refill it before it's empty.
Right.
That has stuck with me.
One time, Joe and I, we told the story when we were in West Palm, but we were on the Rock Legends cruise, and Mark gave good advice today. Yesterday probably would have been the best answer we could give Ramona. When she said, when are you coming back? She heard 10 minutes, and Joe said, well, we'll be out until the music's over. So we go up, hanging out at the buffet, concerts are over, 3 o'clock in the morning, we come down, we're like, oh, let's mess with Ramona. Well, we couldn't really mess with Ramona because she's standing in the hallway in her pajamas, giving Joe that head shake, and like, where the hell were you? Do you know how many people fall off cruise ships every year? I ran. I was petrified. Joe just was like, okay, yes, dear, and he got his butt kicked that night. And then for the next several years, every time someone fell off a cruise ship, Ramona would text me and say, see, I told you.
How about when you got your head stuck in when you're little in kindergarten or something? In New York, you got your head stuck in that fire.
We heard that story.
Was it you or was it my mom?
I got my head stuck because it was a dare from your mother.
Yeah.
We were little, and our parents used to bowl in a bowling league, and we used to play outside. and I was very skinny back then. And there was a banister that we used to slide down, and there was a little space in between. And Ramona said to me, I bet you can't get your head in there. You can't get your body through there. And I said, I bet I could. And I got myself through there until my head couldn't get out.
Oh no.
She had to run in to get my mother. Half the bowling alley came out. My mother's looking at me and saying, why are you? You're so stupid. Why would you do that? And I kept saying, but Ramona, they had to call the fire department. They had to pull that apart. And when they took me out, Ramona was looking at me and smiling. And I was like looking at her, and I said, but you dared me. And she was looking at my mother, and she was going, I didn't say anything to you. And to this day, there's still on the banister, it's still the same banister, and it's still spread apart from my head. From my head.
She was.
We were on a bowling league for years, Ramona and I.
That's actually another interesting story because she would bowl every Tuesday night, and they coined her the classiest chick in the bowling alley because she went all dressed up, and as you know, with bowlers, they're not dressy people. Beer and
Long beard?
Long beards.
no beard. Ready?
Sweetheart.
Ramona, my love, we'll be back to see you. You want to rake it? Okay. All right, okay. Steve, you looking for any workers? Steve owns the lawn service, so maybe we can get Michael a job.
They learned about terms
right,
last
do it.
night
Go ahead.
when we were playing.
Good job,
All right, so it's Jerry's turn.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That's good. Well, thank you, everybody. We're actually going back to the house. Believe it or not, I have more food. We have more alcohol. We have more alcohol, Chris.
No, thank you.